What's up guys, it's National Master Demapples here, back with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at 3 really useful defensive methods. And so, our first defensive method, I'll just cut to the chase, is blockading the position. And here I have a nice tactic. I did make this position myself, but this was inspired by a position that I saw in a book when I was first learning chess, and I was talking about defense, and yeah, it's pretty clear here. White is down a lot of material, 2 rooks to be exact. Looks like this rook and this rook. However, he does have something going for him. If he can manage to lock up the position, it should be a draw. And so I encourage you to pause the video for a moment to see if you can figure out the solution, white to move and draw. Alright, and here's the solution in case you found it or not. The move is bishop to c5. Black's king has nowhere to go but to take. And after d4 check, can't go back here, has to go here. And we check him again. Everything's blocked, so the king has to go to e7, and after f6, doesn't matter where the king goes, we go pawn to b4. And our pawns have created a great wall. Now, locking up the position is effective sometimes, but you have to know when to do it. Now, of course, this is an extreme example, but this can work at a lower, smaller scale as well. And it's also worth noting that even the engine does not realize this position. It thinks that this position is still like minus 6.9 or whatever. But the truth is, if you go down the rabbit hole far enough, Black cannot make any progress, and you can take a look at this position yourself. So, yeah, pretty nice puzzle, I think, that I made. And it really illustrates how effective blockading can be. The second defensive method that we'll be taking a look at are exchanges. Now, let's take a look at this game, and on the black side of this, we have Hikaru Nakamura, who actually won this game. You can see that he played a Scandinavian here. G4, his opponent went very aggressive. I believe his opponent might have been Grishuk here, so very strong player. As you can see here, Nakamura is already getting bombarded by these pawns, so he decides, you know what, this bishop isn't great here, let's try to exchange it. So he's already offering defensive exchanges, and because white is in the driver's seat and has more space, he declines the exchange. Now, usually exchanging pieces is good when you're defending, or you're up material, or you just have more space, and in this case, white has a lot of space. So knight bd7, again, trying to exchange more pieces. White says, yeah, sure, exchange this piece and get forked. Nakamura does not fall for this. Goes g6, and now he exchanges. He takes with the bishop as to not get forked. Takes, knight g8, bishop d2, moves the queen out of the way, knight takes d5, or knight e4 rather, was a big threat, attacking the queen. Knight takes bishop, and you can see that this exchange helped black a bit because now there are fewer pieces to worry about on the board. c4, trying to open up the position, and again, Nakamura seems to be very successful in exchanging these pieces. And so now he has a pretty decent, manageable position, and after a few more moves, though, his opponent has appeared to put a lot of pressure on this b6 pawn, forcing Nakamura to play b6. And now this bishop is very active. c5, trying to break it down even more. He does not care, he takes. White threatens checkmate on b7 and this pawn. This looks very scary. Knight e7, queen takes, king b8, a4. And now Nakamura plays knight to d5, trying to block this bishop. And sometimes exchanges don't just appear out of the blue. Obviously, the best way to exchange, or the most consistent way, is just to force one. Just offer one, you know, hope your opponent accepts. But a lot of the times, if your opponent's good, they won't accept it if you're trying to defend. However, Nakamura, with this last move, has trapped his opponent. His opponent goes rook b5, thinking that, oh, when his queen moves, right, somewhere, let's say c7, I can take this free knight. But Nakamura has secretly just found a very nice way to exchange pieces. So knight c7 with an attack on the queen and the rook. This is a fork. White actually played queen f7, taking advantage of the fact that after knight takes rook, queen b7 is checkmate. This would not really have benefited white because, as we all know, exchanging queens when you're up material or your king is just weak in an endgame is pretty good because the queen is the most powerful piece, and getting rid of her means that your king doesn't have much to worry about anymore. So queen f7, trying to keep more pieces on the board. Rook f8, Naka saying no. He attacks the queen. No, and after rook takes, Nakamura has successfully exchanged off queens, and if you've been keeping track of material, he is up 1 point and eventually went on to win the game. Just abused the fact that this pawn is passed. He doubled rooks and started pushing p, and the game was over pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon, but he managed to win the game. So just because you're defending doesn't mean you're losing, but you should aim for strategic exchanges. And lastly, of course, we have defensive maneuvers. So if your opponent is attacking with more pieces, it obviously makes sense that you should bring pieces over to defend. Of course, the best defense is attack, but a lot of the times attack does not work out. So here, this position came from a Caro-Kann. It's a very common defensive maneuver that I think you should know. This is just an exchange, or Tartakower, I believe. Knight f3, castles, bishop d3, and now black implements a nice defensive method. He goes knight to d7. And what is he doing with this knight? Well, you can see with white's last move, he played bishop d3, pressuring this pawn. After castles and rook to e8, you might say, well, black's putting his rook on an open file. Yes, and he's doing much more than that. Queen c2, and the thing is, in these kinds of positions, you don't always want to go g6 to block the attack, because white was threatening to take this pawn. You don't want to go g6. Rather, if you go g6, you risk a move like this. Maybe not this exact move, because maybe bishop f8 is strong, but you risk weakening these dark squares, and that's no bueno, usually. And so what black does here is goes knight f8, protecting this pawn. And black is surprisingly solid here. There's a famous saying that goes, knight on f8, never mate. Say the queen and the bishop were reversed, right? And this knight were not on f8. This would have been just checkmate if the rook were here, right? But the knight on f8 controls h7, and this defensive maneuver of knight d7, followed by knight f8, and sometimes knight to g6, is a really important idea in many chess openings. Additionally, if you do not perform this maneuver correctly, you might end up like Magnus Carlsen. I'll just let you watch him.
Hey, 2 checks.
Nice.
7 points ahead, playing Mr. Dropstone.
You're really playing the Caro-Kann? No, no worries. You're good. Stay good. Go ahead. Another game. Wow.
Yeah. So knight on f8, never mate, and you will not fall for this. Right? Those are my 3 defensive tips. Number 1, blocking the position. Number 2, exchanging pieces. And number 3, bringing more pieces over to defend. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.